There is a strange mercy in destruction, a quiet wisdom hidden in the moments when everything you cling to begins to fall apart. We call it tragedy, but sometimes it is the only language the universe can use to reach a soul that refuses to listen. You see, the universe does not punish you. It exposes you. It takes what you love, what you depend on, what you think you are, and breaks it open. Not to hurt you, but to show you what you've built your life upon. Carl Jung once wrote that the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. But before that acceptance can happen, the self must be shattered. Because what we call ourselves is often nothing more than a fragile construction, a mask carefully designed to keep us safe from pain. We think we are strong because we hold on, but often it is our clinging that keeps us weak. The universe knows this, and so it begins its silent work. You lose the person you thought you could never live without. You fail at the dream that defined your worth. The identity you built, the one that made you feel seen, collapses overnight. And in that collapse, something ancient stirs, a deeper awareness, one that has waited patiently beneath the surface, the shadow. This is the part of you that you've kept buried. Your fear, your rage, your hunger for control, your unspoken grief. It is everything you've denied to maintain the illusion of perfection. And when the universe begins to take from you, it is not cruelty. It is calling your shadow forward, because only when the surface is cracked can the truth beneath begin to breathe. You stand in the ruins of what once defined you, and for the first time you feel something raw and real. Terror, yes, but also a quiet recognition, a knowing that the pain is not your enemy. It's the threshold, the crossing between who you were and who you are meant to become. The universe tests you by breaking what you cling to. Not to destroy you, but to return you to yourself. And somewhere inside that silence, after the dust of your old self has settled, you begin to hear it. The faint heartbeat of something true, something ancient, something whole. That is where the journey begins. We live in an age that worships control. We measure our worth by how tightly we can hold the world together. Smiles must stay fixed. Plans must unfold perfectly. And pain must be hidden like a sin. But the soul cannot breathe in a life that never allows it to break. Because every time you repress what hurts, you also silence what is real. Carl Jung Philosophy teaches that repression is not healing. It is exile. Whatever part of yourself you refuse to face does not disappear. It waits. It watches from the shadows. And the longer you deny it, the more power it gathers in the dark. You can see it in the eyes of those who pretend they're fine, the ones who drown their silence in distractions. Another drink, another relationship, another goal. They are not living, they are running, and what they run from is not the world, but their own reflection. You might have felt it too. The hollow ache that lingers after success, the quiet panic that surfaces when you're alone too long. It's the unconscious whispering, you have built your life on a mask. We call it ambition, we call it positivity, but often it's fear. The fear of meeting who you really are when there's nothing left to prove. Jung once said that people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. So we cling to our habits, our beliefs, our image of being good. We suppress anger and call it forgiveness. We swallow sorrow and call it strength. We run from our desire and call it purity. But the shadow does not disappear because you've renamed it. It festers behind the smile. It distorts your choices. It colors every relationship with quiet resentment and unspoken longing. Until one day, the pressure breaks the surface. The body trembles, the voice cracks, and the soul that's been imprisoned beneath all your masks begins to scream for air. You might lash out. You might collapse into despair. You might wake up one morning and realize that the life you've built feels like a stranger's home. This is the reckoning. The point where denial no longer protects you, and in that moment the universe intervenes. It breaks what you cling to. It dismantles the illusions you mistake for identity. It forces you to see that every false thing you've built, every mask, every lie, every perfect version of yourself is too small for the soul that's trying to emerge. That's why it hurts so much, because something in you is dying. But it's the false self, not the real one. Pain, in this sense, is not punishment. It's purification. It burns away the untruths you've wrapped around your being, and the more you resist it, the longer you stay trapped between two worlds, the world of illusion that's crumbling and the world of truth that's calling. In this twilight, you will want to turn back, to rebuild what was lost, to reclaim what broke. But every attempt to resurrect the old self will only deepen your suffering, because the universe has already decided you are no longer meant to live asleep, and so you stand there, trembling, exposed, half-born, the past collapsing behind you, the unknown stretching before you. This is not the end. It is the initiation, the painful grace of being stripped bare. For beyond this storm lies a revelation, not of what you've lost, but of what you truly are. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when the collapse stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like truth. The noise quiets, the grief softens, and you begin to sense that what has been taken from you was never really yours to begin with. This is the moment of revelation, the unveiling of what Carl Jung Philosophy calls individuation, the process of becoming whole. Wholeness is not found in perfection. It is found in the meeting of opposites, the divine and the broken, the saint and the sinner, the light and the shadow. You have spent years trying to be good, to be moral, to be strong, calm, collected. But in all your striving, you've only strengthened the mask that hides the real self. Jung taught that the shadow, those rejected aspects of our being, are not evil. They are raw potential, unlived life, unclaimed power. Each repressed emotion, each forbidden desire is a fragment of the soul waiting to be brought into the light. And this is the paradox. The more you reject your darkness, the less light you possess, because what you refuse to face rules you, what you suppress possesses you, and what you deny in yourself, you inevitably project onto others. This is why you are drawn to people who trigger you, why you resent what you secretly envy, why the same patterns of love, failure, betrayal repeat like unfinished lessons. The universe is not against you, it is mirroring you. Every person, every obstacle, every heartbreak is an externalized reflection of an internal conflict asking to be integrated. That's why the universe tests you by breaking what you cling to. It removes what keeps your illusion intact, because only in the void of loss can you meet what is real. Imagine holding a candle in a dark room. You believe the light defines you. You cling to it, but then the candle goes out and you panic. You think you've lost everything, but slowly as your eyes adjust, you realize that you are surrounded by infinite space, that the darkness was not the absence of light, but the vastness that light could never contain. That's the truth of your soul. The light you once worshipped was only a flicker of what you truly are. To see this, you must let go of the idea that enlightenment means becoming pure. It means becoming complete. To descend into your own depths and return with what you find there. To recognize that the monster in your dreams is not a threat, it's a messenger. The shadow is not your enemy, it is your teacher. It shows you the pieces of yourself that long to be seen, not to be acted upon, but understood. It whispers, you are not as good as you pretend to be, but you are far more human than you believe. When you finally face it, you begin to reclaim your energy from the darkness. The anger you feared becomes assertiveness. The envy you denied becomes inspiration. The grief you buried becomes compassion. And the illusions you once worshipped, perfection, control, certainty, fall away like dust in sunlight. You begin to realize that life was never about avoiding suffering, but about learning to suffer consciously. Because suffering without awareness is hell, but suffering with awareness is transformation. This is what Jung meant when he said, "No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell." To reach upward, you must also descend. To awaken, you must first fall asleep. To be reborn, you must die to what you thought you were. The universe breaks you open, not because it's cruel, but because your soul is too vast for the cage you've built. And when you finally stop running, when you stand amid the ruins and whisper, "I accept this too," something changes. You no longer crave the life you lost. You begin to trust the life that's unfolding. The shadow no longer hunts you. It walks beside you. And for the first time, you are not divided. You are whole. Wholeness is not an idea, it's a practice, a living conversation between your darkness and your light. The transformation does not happen in a single transcendent moment. It happens quietly, in the small decisions you make when no one is watching, in the courage to pause before reacting, in the humility to say, "I was wrong," in the compassion to hold your pain without turning it into someone else's burden. Carl Jung Philosophy teaches that integration begins with awareness, not judgment, not analysis, awareness, to observe your emotions without identifying with them, to feel anger without becoming it, to experience fear without letting it define you, to allow grief to move through you, not as an enemy, but as a guide. It sounds simple, but it's the hardest thing a human being can do, because the mind is addicted to control, and control is the language of the ego. The ego believes that if it can label, predict, and dominate life, it will be safe. But integration asks the opposite, to surrender the need for safety and step into the truth of what is. You will fail at this many times. You will find yourself slipping back into old patterns, defending, denying, projecting. But each time you notice yourself doing it, you reclaim a little more power from the unconscious. Awareness is how you begin to walk with your shadow, instead of being chased by it. This awareness spills into everything, into love, leadership, solitude. In love, you stop expecting others to complete you. You begin to see that every relationship is a mirror, reflecting the parts of yourself you've forgotten or disowned. When someone triggers you, you learn to ask, "What part of me is being shown here?" And instead of demanding that they change, you listen to what your reaction is trying to teach you. This is emotional alchemy, turning judgment into understanding, defensiveness into curiosity. In leadership, this integration becomes humility. You stop pretending to have all the answers. You begin to speak with honesty instead of authority. People trust you not because you are flawless, but because you are real. Your presence carries a strange calm, the calm of someone who has met their demons and no longer fears them. And in solitude, the deepest test of transformation, you stop feeling lonely. You begin to sense a quiet companionship within you. The shadow, once exiled, now sits beside you as an ally. It whispers insights that once terrified you. It teaches you that silence is not emptiness, it's communion. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. But to reach that retreat, you must first make peace with every part of yourself that you've condemned." This is how the universe reshapes you, not by handing you serenity on a silver platter, but by showing you your chaos and asking, "Can you hold this too?" Because transformation is not the end of pain, it's the end of resistance to pain. When you stop fighting what is, the world softens, your heart expands, and you realize that nothing needs to be perfect to be sacred. Integration is not about becoming good, it's about becoming real. And reality, in all its darkness and light, is the closest thing to God we will ever touch. When you live this way, not hiding, not performing, not escaping, the universe no longer needs to break you to reach you, because you've already learned to let go. And that is the quiet victory of awakening. To surrender without losing yourself, to hold both the wound and the wisdom in the same breath. When the storm has passed, you begin to see what remains. Not the same self that once clung to control, but something quieter, gentler, unbreakable. You realize that peace was never the absence of pain. It was the ability to stay open even while it hurt. The universe, in its strange mercy, never truly took anything from you. It only revealed what could not be lost. Carl Jung Philosophy reminds us that the soul's journey is not toward light alone, but toward wholeness. And wholeness includes everything: your mistakes, your shame, your anger, your love. Every contradiction belongs. You no longer run from the dark because you've learned that the dark is not your enemy. It is the soil from which your authenticity grows. You begin to thank the heartbreaks that once broke you, the failures that humbled you, the endings that forced you to begin again, because each one carried the same hidden message. Wake up, return to yourself. The longer you walk this path, the less you cling to people, to outcomes, to the illusion of control. You start to see that everything comes and goes, and that love itself isn't possession, but participation, a willingness to witness life as it moves through you without demanding it stay the same. The man who has integrated his shadow no longer fears what he might lose, because he has already died to illusion. And in that death, he discovers an immortal stillness. This stillness does not shout, it doesn't promise glory or triumph, it simply is. It breathes through you in moments of quiet clarity when you look at the world and realize that nothing is missing. Carl Jung. Philosophy is, at its heart, an invitation to reconcile opposites, to see that heaven and hell are not separate realms, but two dimensions of the same consciousness. When you stop rejecting either, you come home. The universe tests you by breaking what you cling to, but only to reveal the part of you that cannot be broken. And when you finally rest in that knowing, life begins to move through you freely, like wind through an open field. No longer seeking, no longer resisting. You simply are. And that is enough, because wholeness was never something to achieve. It was what you were, before the world taught you to forget.